This is one of my personal favorite topics to talk about because prior to learning about these principles that determine our state of mind and this whole notion that it's completely internally derived, I absolutely felt like there were difficult people in the world and there were easy people in the world. Of course, I was an easy person and I had people in my life that were difficult, go figure. I'm sure no one can relate to that. So it was really quite shocking for me when I was first learning about these principles behind our experience to hear someone say, all of your experience is derived from internal functions. It's not coming at you from the world out there. So what this implies is that actually there's no such thing as difficult people. I know that's a hard concept to entertain. It was a very, very hard concept for me to entertain at first because I not only assumed that there were certain people that were just inherently difficult in nature, I could prove it to you because there was more than one of us that felt that way. So I could kind of poll people and say, no, it's like 8 out of 10 dentists approve this toothpaste. It's 8 out of 10 people agree that this is a difficult person. So I very much lived the kind of experience that was, I do very well with these kinds of people, and these kinds of people not so much. They're harder because they're difficult. But what these principles of mind, consciousness, and thought point to that we've been talking about in this series is that actually everything you experience is coming from you. And really from what's going on in your thinking in the moment. So my colleague gives this wonderful metaphor of that when you're driving in your car, if the check engine light comes up on your dashboard, it's telling you about your engine, your car. So that red light tells you something about what's going on in your vehicle. It's not telling you about what's going on in the vehicle next to you or the vehicle in front of you. So nobody sees the check engine light go on in their car and suddenly roll down their window and say, hey, buddy, I think there's something wrong with your car. It's very well understood that those lights are indicators of something happening inside your vehicle. And feelings of difficulty are like the check engine light. They're like the dashboard lights. They let you know if I'm feeling tense or tight or pressured, it's telling me something about what's happening in my own engine, or in this case, in my own thinking in the moment. It's not telling me about what's happening to the person in front of me, the person who's talking to me, maybe even yelling at me or, I don't know, saying something that I don't like hearing. It's telling me what's happening inside my own head. So what I began to understand is that the people I experienced in my own life as difficult were the people that I have difficult thinking around. This one little added word was really helpful. It's not, oh, those people are difficult. It's, I have difficult thinking around them. And at first, I really didn't like this concept because it suddenly turned the finger this way instead of that way, which to me seemed unfair. It's like, hey, wait a second. It's not my problem. This guy's a total jerk. But what I realized after I got over my own sort of, frankly, my own ego and my own reactivity to the notion that I was somehow accountable for that experience was, hey, wait a second. This is actually really freeing. If it's coming from me, I have some say in the matter. Where if it's just being done to me, well, then I'm just going to go through my entire life having the difficult people be difficult, end of story. So suddenly, seeing that the experience of difficulty was coming from something inside my own self really got me curious. And it gave me hope. And what I discovered is, and this is what it feels like to me. And I encourage people to experiment with this themselves. But the people that I historically have had on my difficult list, I began to notice after learning these principles that, yeah, it's true actually. Every time I'm in the presence of that person or I have to go have a conversation with that person, it's almost like I take the bait of the first kind of thinking that comes to mind. It's like I get tricked by it every time I fall for it. And what was really curious for me to notice is not only did I fall for it in their presence, I could fall for it even before I saw them. So I could start to feel that feeling of difficulty just thinking about that person, which again was a hint that it's not coming from them. It's coming from something going on inside of me. So it's like, wow, you mean to tell me I can get myself all worked up about someone before I even see them? That's fascinating. It can't be them. It has to be me. So it started to look like a really fun game to play with my difficult people and see if I didn't follow my usual habit of taking the bait of how I thought about that person time and time again, I would essentially wait for something else to come to mind. I know that sounds like an oversimplification, but what people discover about themselves is that they have a limitless potential for new thinking to come into their mind if they don't go with the first thought out of the gate, or if they don't, as I said, take the bait. So I kind of started playing with this, where when I would start to have a feeling, oh, I hate that I'm going to have to talk to that person later about this. Well, hold on. What happens if I don't take the bait? And just by learning about these principles, I started to get the notion that if I left the door open, almost like the visual for me was like, if I left a door open over my shoulder back here, and basically felt like, yeah, what else do you got? Kind of looking to my mind's potential to keep bringing me new thoughts as if they came in a doorway over here to my right, which I know they don't, but for me that works visually. It's kind of like, I know I want to go with this one, but I don't want to take the bait because that's difficult. I've always had difficult with that person. I don't want to take the bait. I don't want to go with that thought train. I want to get on that train and go to that destination. So I'd kind of be like, all right, what else you got? And what I noticed is that I started having new thinking about people that I'd had an old feeling about. So if someone's chronically difficult, you have a lot of the same thinking about them, which is why you tend to feel stale about them. Like, oh, I got to go talk to this guy again. Like that feeling of, oh, geez, is a warning light on your dashboard that says, hey, your mind's doing that old thing it does. Ugh, this one again. And so it became really fascinating for me, A, to see that there's no difficulty out there in the world. It's what my mind does in certain scenarios, or in this case with certain people. And that if I didn't do what I always did, I'd get something new. That was super cool to me because I started having completely different experiences with kind of same old people just by leaving my mind open, just by not taking the bait, letting something else come in. And there's one more point on this that I think is really important, is that, you know how if you're desperately trying to think of something to get an idea about it, like, oh, you're that idea of racking your brain, or even as simple as, where did I put my keys? Or what's the name of that actor? It's often not until you finally give it up, you quit trying so hard, that suddenly a minute or 2 minutes or an hour later, it comes to your head, oh, the name of that actress was Susan Sarandon, or, oh, I remember where I put my keys. It points to the fact that your mind will naturally give you helpful ideas when you stop getting so much in your way, that racking your brain, because it really takes your mind and goes, and so then your engine light starts going on. You feel frustrated. Well, it's the same thing with difficult people. If you quit kind of racking your brain about them, well, he's difficult because of this and that, and essentially revving yourself up in your head, which creates the sensation of difficulty, your mind throws you new ideas, shows you new things. So you'll find that you often get refreshing or helpful or new ideas about someone if you kind of give up on what you're always doing in your head about them. So for me, it was an extremely empowering and freeing and fun realization to know that there really aren't difficult people in the world.